All right, welcome to today's playoff recap. I am very excited today because I'm joined by my co-host from last year, Ramon de los Santos of the Ball and RI, and then first time appearance and on the show, but also my other co-host is Rueb of the Projo and Ruby Tuesdays. I'm so excited to have you guys on the show. This is awesome. Just some, two Rhode Island's best basketball analysts in one Zoom conference room. So thank you guys for making the time for me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, no problem. It's fun. It's fun to do this. Anytime we can talk about high school hoops, that means we're playing. So that's all that matters.
Yeah, I know you call me a basketball analyst. I guess that's what I am, huh? Sounds cool.
Hey. Ramon, your account, I don't know. You post a video, as soon as you post it gets like 1,000 likes in like 2 seconds. So all the kids know who you are and everything that you do. And obviously, Eric, you have everyone doing the snipes and the Ruby Tuesdays. So everything that you're doing out there is great. So I appreciate, I'm sure this whole state, but I also appreciate too everything that you guys do for Rhode Island basketball too. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. There are worse things in this world to be doing than talking about high school hoops and what some of these state athletes do. So
yeah, it's awesome. Well, all right. So let's get into it. We're going to start before just a quick announcement. Our order, we're going to start with a D3 playoffs recap, and then we're going to go D2 and then D1. So same order as what we did last year. So let's get into it. For Division 3, we had an upset. We had number 10 EWG with a victory over Juanita Sanchez High School, 52-47. EWG was led by Lucas with 23 points, Robbie Simones and Corey Bardsley chipped in with 12 points, and Harleton Amando with 19 points. Eric, what are your thoughts on this game with EWG with the upset?
Myself and Ramon talked about it Thursday in our breakdown on the Ruby Tuesday show on Instagram Live. And this was the kind of game that when I picked, I thought Juanita was going to have this with the athletes they had, but Exeter West Greenwich can shoot, and that's one thing they've done, and that's what they did. I know Corey Bardsley, he had a big three in the second half that kind of flipped the game over, gave the Knights the lead for good. And, Ramon was smarter than me in making his pick, and he took the Scarlet Knights in this one. I will give him all the credit in the world for that. But I would like to point out, I said that I thought Juanita would win, but if teams weren't careful, Exeter West Greenwich gets hot. This is the type of team that could shoot their way to the finals, and I still believe this. And that win shows it. That's a great win for them over a team that I think had more skilled players. But when you got shooters, you can do anything in this tournament.
Definitely. I think this is the one upset I called correctly. I tried to call a lot of upsets, and none of them really worked out. This is the one upset I called correctly. And like you said, it's scary to think that, that's just one win. EWG could get maybe another one. So definitely got to look out for this team.
Definitely. And then their next matchup, they're going in on Tuesday against the number 2 seed Narragansett, which should be an interesting matchup. Do you guys have any thoughts before we move on to the next game about their next matchup?
Yeah, Narragansett, they play this really packed 2-3 zone, and they basically dare teams to shoot over them. And if you're not shooting at a high percentage, you're not going to beat them. They've got great size in the center with Adam Bucci, and this is a matchup. I think Narragansett, if you asked them and gave them some truth serum, they'd rather see Juanita Sanchez in this game, but now they're going to get a team that can shoot from the outside, which is going to change the complexion of everything. This is their nightmare. They don't want to play a team that has confidence shooting from the outside, that can shoot over the 2-3 zone. So, some might think, oh, it's a 10 versus a 2. The 2 should win. I don't know. This is going to be a lot closer than people think.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said as well, is that when EWG gets hot from the outside, they can make a lot of shots. But I think that the difference is just going to be kind of that. Although Narragansett is a very good defensive team, they're also good, decent offensive team, good enough to have enough firepower that I don't think EWG is going to be able to come back. So I give the nod to the number 2s here. I know we're not making predictions, but I just can't help but do it.
It's Sunday. We can't be making picks on Sunday yet, although they're probably playing on Tuesday. But thing to watch out in this game, Narragansett High School's gym has incredibly soft rims, and I know this from watching my kids shoot there in rec basketball. The bounces those rims give it's a very forgiving rim. You hit it hard, it hits soft, it lands soft. It's a shooter's gym, which is, again, that's going to help the Scarlet Knights out, especially Bardsley. Watch out for him. He could have one of those games where he hits 5 or 6 threes very easily.
It should be a very interesting matchup between the two of them. Both great teams. Narragansett playing great defense and a great shooting team. And then, like you said, EWG could probably shoot the lights out. So it'd be very interesting, especially those soft rims. I might have to get over there and start shooting. I might start feeling better about myself on the basketball court. But we go into our next matchup is the 6th seed BV Blackstone Valley Prep. They won this game over Central Falls, who was 11 seed. Blackstone Valley Prep with 46 over with Central Falls 42. This seems like a close game. Central Falls won. They only fall by 4. BVP is led by Xavier Lara with 25 points. He led all scorers, and Alex Maya with 13 points for Central Falls, and Sean Anderson with also 10 points for Central Falls. Ramon, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, so I knew there was going to be a good game. I didn't think it was going to be this close. And I think what I guessed in the Ruby Tuesday on a Thursday show was that Xavier Lara was going to have a really good game, which it's not too much of a stretch, right? And he ended up having a really good game, 25 points, and kind of led that team to a win. So definitely a good matchup. Central Falls, I think, has a good outlook going forward as well. And they have good young players. So, but season over now.
Yeah, I mean, like Ramon said, we did talk about it. Lara is someone to pay attention to. He was really a key player in their run to the Division III final last year, and all season he's been getting 20 to 25 a night. Whenever they needed him big, he showed up big. I think he had a couple 30 points games as well. Not a shock to see him get 25 in this one. And we talked about it. This is a team that has experience, playoff experience, and when you get into these tight kind of games against someone, and all of a sudden there's competition where maybe some people thought there weren't, that experience from last year really paid off. And to get a win, I mean, yeah, they would have liked to have won by 20, but a win's a win in the playoffs at this point. So 46-42, they'll take it and they'll move on.
And then they move on, which we have our rematch of the championship rematch of last year's game. They're going to play ×2. I mean, what are your thoughts on that matchup? Eric or Ramon, one of you guys can jump into that.
I know BVP is excited about it. Right, get another chance at it. ×2 has a very similar team to last year. They still have Kobe Pena and Jason Peters and a lot of the other supporting cast. So it's going to be things as usual. They're going to come in, score a lot, and speed it up. But BVP, they have a good chance to get some revenge. So I'm sure they're happy with the matchup.
Yeah, and I think we know, the Pride are going to be out for revenge. Obviously, Lara's a great player, but I think we talked about it Thursday. ×2 is playing a different brand of basketball right now. They're on a mission to defend this title. So again, not making picks now, but I see ×2 kind of getting in this game and rolling just because they're so strong and they're playing so well right now.
×2 have probably one of the best backcourts in the state, if not the best backcourt in the state, with Jason Peters and Kobe Pena both leading the way for that team. But let's move into our next game. We have Davies versus Mount St. Charles. Davies won this game pretty handily. They won by 27 with a final score 67-40. Davies was led by Antonio Cabral, who had 16 points, and Cans with 15 points. And then Mount St. Charles is led by Brian Giles with 11 points. Eric, what are your thoughts on Davies, moving on to the next round?
Yeah, I mean, this was the kind of game, and when these two teams met in the regular season, I think Davies, Mount St. Charles actually had won 36-35. Neither team scored the last 3.5 minutes. And when you looked at the scores, and I said this when I made a prediction, that was kind of an anomaly for that team. They just hadn't had a game where they just couldn't score. And we saw why. I was checking tweets from Brandon Mello, the Woonsocket Call. He was at the game. And I think they had matched or they'd beaten their previous total from the last game by halftime in this one. It's a powerful offensive team, and they put it together. They didn't have a bad shooting night. They kept, they didn't turn the ball over. They did what they normally do, and we see it in the final score there.
Yeah, and Davies year over year just seems to have, a lot of offensive firepower, whether it leads to a lot of wins or a little bit of wins, they're going to score, right? So I was surprised when that other game was just 36-35. So I thought the same. I'm like, this is going to be a different type of game. Maybe Mount St. Charles can hang, maybe not, but it looks like Davies ended up kind of running away with this one. So
yeah, definitely. And then they move on to the next round. Davies will be playing Moses Brown on Wednesday, the 23rd at 6 p.m. I mean, what are your thoughts about the matchup with Davies and Moses Brown?
I think it's a great matchup for Davies. They have the athleticism, they have the scores. Last year, they were there weren't four guys who could put up 15, 20 points for them. This year, that's what they are. They just have more balance in that offense, and I think they have a lot of weapons. The one thing that worries me about Davies is I don't know if they have the size to match up with Moses Brown. They have center and Jude McLean, he's on it, and doesn't matter division. He's one of the best big men I've seen all year. Just a great rebounder. He has a nose for the basketball underneath. He's just going to finish close to the basket, and that's something they're going to have to handle. I know Moses Brown has some guards and kids who can shoot, but ultimately, I think if Moses Brown decides, hey, we're going to try to slow this thing down and just feed our big man, I think they might have a real good chance of winning this game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great matchup. This is one that once they saw the break, I'm like, if Davies gets by Moses Charles, it's going to be a great matchup between Davies and Moses Brown. So I'm definitely looking forward to it, catching it online. And yeah, I think it could go either way. I know I picked Davies in our brackets, but I think it could go either way.
Yeah, it should be an interesting matchup between the two. I'm very excited to see that one. I might stop by and try to get to that game as well too. And then let's see, we have North Smithfield versus Prout in the next matchup, and then North Smithfield was able to pull out the 11-point victory over Prout, 59-48. North Smithfield had three players in double figures, with Aiden Bonneview with 12 points, Tyson Green with 11 points, and Laura Dunes with 11 points as well. And Prout had two guys in double figures, 18 from Brennan Maller and Casey with 13 points. I mean, Ramon, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so this was one where I kept going back and forth. I know both coaches very well, and not just because of that. I thought it was a very close match, and obviously 8-9 seed, it's going to be a close matchup. And I literally had Prout as going forward till I had to make my prediction. I switched to North Smithfield, and I guess it worked out. But it was exactly what I thought it was going to be. I think North Smithfield was up by a lot throughout the game, but obviously Prout made a little run, and I think Coach Dean Prout has a lot of guys to be excited about. Casey Pizzano is very young and is very good. That kid is going to be a star.
Yeah, and I mean, this was a game like you said. This was an 8-9 game. I had gone the other way. Proud of been playing. I thought a little bit better than North Smithfield toward the end of the season. And obviously North Smith went in there and got it done. They've got some balanced scoring with that team, and they play solid enough defense to get the job done. And it's good for a North Smithfield program that has a lot of young kids on that team too. They're growing. They're getting better. The Dones, I don't know if you remember, his brother Aldrich was a 1,000-point scorer for the Northmen. I saw this kid on the football field, and he's does not look like your typical sophomore. He's a center he's going to beat some people up these next 2 years. So I think this is good. I mean, this is great for a young kid like that to kind of get a taste of victory, learn what it takes to win in the playoffs. The next matchup's going to be a little tougher for him, but it's still it's a bonus for a team that's built the way the Northmen are.
Yeah, it was a matchup between, I know both coaches as well, two friendly matchup between two coaches who know each other very well. And it was great to see them play against each other. But next matchup for North Smithfield, they'd be playing Mount Hope, the number 1 seed in the divisional playoffs in D3. What are your guys' thoughts on the next game?
I think me and myself and Ramon are both kind of in agreement on Mount Hope, and they're playing a certain kind of basketball. They took that loss late in the season, and it kind of almost has been the best thing that could have happened to them, because now they realize they're not a perfect team and they can be beat. And when you get a good team to realize that, it makes them even more dangerous. I mean, North Smithfield's going to have their hands are going to be full. They're going to have to win with defense. They're going to have to find a way to shut Bruce McGuire down. Try to keep it low scoring and don't let him get loose, because the Huskies got 3 guys who can put up big numbers in a hurry. And if this game gets away, turns into track meet, I think it's going to be problems for North Smithfield.
No, definitely. And I think it's not often that you see the number 1 seed with a chip on their shoulder, and they have it. They really think they've been somewhat disrespected because they've had this loss there and this loss that. But good thing is that they had those losses in the regular season, and now they can kind of start all over and just try to win out the whole tournament.
Yeah, it'll be a interesting matchup. That game will be on Tuesday the 22nd at 6 p.m. Yeah, do you guys have a matchup that you're looking forward to in Division 3 that you're really looking forward to seeing in the next round, or?
For me, that Davies Moses Brown game. I think that's the one I'm really kind of circling on my calendar. Really want to see how that is. I think it'll be a great matchup. But I'm already looking forward towards Final Four. It's so bad. I'm already looking ahead. I'm like,
See, I mean, if he was going to pick Davies, the Davies Moses Brown matchup, I can't say that because that's get too repetitive. But I mean, anytime you can get a rematch of a finals last year, that's going to pique my interest. I'm going to kind of want to see what goes on, because you do have that team that lost. And they got that, they're going to, I'm sure the coach is going to show them repeatedly, hey guys, remember when they beat us in the final last year? Remember that, start feeding that fire. And just so happens that game's on my birthday. So who knows, maybe it'll be a little birthday celebration for me going to check out some high school basketball.
I love it. I think I'm looking forward to actually the EWG Narragansett matchup sounds quite interesting to me. A shooting team versus a zone defense that plays very well. So see if Narragansett can pull out the Syracuse zone where they make a run in every NCAA tournament, or if EWG shoots the lights out.
Yeah, might have to come out of that zone.
Yeah,
shots are falling, but.
Let's see what happens. All right, so let's move on to Division Two, and let's start off with today's matchup, which was Wheeler versus Johnson. Wheeler was able to pull out the victory, winning this match by 14, 62-48. Wheeler is led by Travis Cobain with 25 points. I mean, what are your thoughts on this one, Eric?
I would just like to point out that on the Ruby Tuesday show, I said that how this game played out, how it was going to play out, and that's how it played out. Travis Cobain is going to go off. He is in playoff Travis mode, and he's one of the best players in the state. And when you get a player of that caliber, when it's time to win, they just flip that switch, and we see it today. It's just a great game. I know we were kind of going over the box score before we started taping, and you still got to look at a kid. Toby Pike had a huge fourth quarter for Wheeler today, and they have this kind of young supporting cast that could do it. Cobain's going to get his numbers because he's that good of a player, but they're not just Cobain, and this kid Pike can shoot. They have this kid Freeman a freshman who can light it up from outside, and we're seeing them together. You throw Sean Kelly, their coach, in the mix, and this is a really good team. Have they underperformed this year a little? Maybe that's from people like myself, maybe, kind of giving them a little too much credit, but this is a good win for them, a good start toward a run, and they got eyes on a title game because they thought they should have been there last year.
Oh, that's true. And I think, like you said, a lot of times in these playoffs, especially, that's when the star players show up, right? Like that's sometimes you can have the perfect matchup, but if the star player goes off, the star player goes off. That's what happens. That's what Travis can do for this team. But I think the difference is that supporting role, right? Because that may be the other team's game plan. Let Travis somewhat go off, but let's control everyone else. That's not going to work because they do have a legit supporting cast. So.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Their next matchup will be, well, first of all, I want to say this sounds kind of lame, but when I heard Eric say playoff mode, I thought of sicko mode because of Travis Scott. So I'm thinking of Travis going sicko mode in the playoffs. So now
I'm not saying I did that on purpose, but I know what I'm doing. I might be an old guy, but I'm still in tune with what's cool or not.
That's what immediately came to my mind. But for their next matchup, and it's a game we're going to go over right now, is Chariho versus Chariho, and Chariho was able to pull out the victory by 19 points over Pilgrim. Chariho had 5 guys in double figures, with Liam Flynn with 12, Jeremiah Graham with 12, Zoot Boswich with 11, Tyler Bell with 11, and Jackson Morcus with 10. And then Brandon Whitman had 18 points for Pilgrim. I mean, Ramon, what are your thoughts on Chariho?
Yeah, I kind of saw this coming. I think Chariho has been playing very well, very pulling off. There's a lot of balanced scoring, as you can see. They have a lot of guys. It's not like the kid Jeremiah Graham is very talented, very athletic. I think he can go off. Tyler LeBeau can go off, but they also have a bunch of guys who, as you can see, can score 12 to 15 points. So then this team is very solid, and that matchup versus Wheeler is going to be nice. But I think this is the way they're supposed to start the playoffs, and they did what they were supposed to. They won when they were supposed to.
Yeah, this is. I mean, in Chariho's, you got basketball teams and basketball players, then you get teams with athletes who also are basketball players, and that's what this Chariho team is. They're filled with athletes who happen to play basketball, happen to be pretty good at it. And there's no ego on this team at all. There's this winning culture down at that school right now with all their sports. Every team seems to be doing very well, and it's contagious. Once you start winning, you get a taste for it. You know what it takes. You know what to do. You know the extra time you have to put in. And we're seeing it. I mean, Pilgrim had a kind of an up and down year, and Chariho went in, took care of business, made sure they got the job done. Now the big matchup's coming. They're going to be playing a Wheeler team that they needed a Tyler LeBell shot in the last 20, 30 seconds to beat. So the game's going to be down in Chariho like it was last week, and Wheeler's going to come down there. They know what's on the line. They know what just happened, and they don't want that to happen again. So that's going to be just one of those matchups that's going to be a fun game. No one in the world's going to want to go there because, as far as anyone concerned, Wood River Junction's an overnight trip, but it's going to be a terrific basketball game.
Well, I might have to check that game out. I'm really down the road from Chariho, so but that game is on Tuesday the 22nd. That starts at 6 p.m. Now let's move on to our other an upset that we had in Division 2 as well too. We had South Kingston versus Mount Hope. Hope with the upset here in the close battle over South Kingston. They won this game 66-63. Hope was led by an outstanding performance from Sean Folger with 34 points, and Ore Niasco had 14 points. I'm sorry if I butchered his last name. And then Lavelle Shepard with 28 points, and Declan Woolley chipped in with 11 for South Kingston. Eric, what are your thoughts on this game?
I have been on the Shan Folger bandwagon for like 3 or 4 weeks now. I've been telling people this kid is an electric scorer. He can take over games. If you put him up at LaSalle, you put him up at North, with Hendrick, and you put him on one of those Division I teams where he gets a lot more eyeballs. They're saying this kid's the best point guard in the state. He is this good. And it's not a joke. It's not, I'll use a lot of hyperbole. He is a very talented basketball player. And watching him play, you can see how he can take over games. And that's what he did. They were down double digits in this game. And Folger just threw him on his back. When you get a kid who's that good, a player like that can carry you. And, it's an upset of 10-7, but not that myself and Ramon are like the perfect experts, but we both said Hope was winning this game. And they did. Yeah. They were just, you have to sometimes just take the team with the best player. And that's what Folger was on Friday night.
And it's just good to see Hope back in the playoffs, back doing well. They've had a couple of rough years. So to me, it's just good to see some of these, Staple City schools just being able to kind of compete. And yeah, Shan is that good. Like, he's so shifty. Like, he just gets to wherever he wants to. He can shoot, he can get to the basket. Like, you could tell he's playing above, like he's above who he's playing. He just happens to play at Hope. And I knew it was going to be a good matchup between him and Lavelle. And it's going to be high scoring for both of them, just like it was. Just somebody had to win, someone had to lose. But yeah, I called Hope, and I'm glad it worked out because at first it wasn't looking too good. So, so Hope Nets matchup. It's going to be a fun one as well.
Yeah, definitely. And to hop in with that, the Folger-Lavelle matchup must have been awesome to see the 34 and the 28. Some two great scorers in the state just battling out for hopefully to get the victory. And like you said, one of them had to come out with a win on that one, Ramon. And then Hope's next matchup will be Shea on the 22nd at 6 p.m. I mean, what are you guys' thoughts on this matchup?
I think the Hope Cinderella is about to stop there, but it's nothing against Hope. Hope is I think Folger can get hot, can carry a team, but Shea is a different makeup of a basketball team. They're long, they're athletic, they have shooters from top to bottom in their lineup, and it's a problem matchup for Hope. A lot of these games comes down to matchup. South Kingstown Hope's a good matchup because there's not South Kingstown. Yes, they have some good guards. They don't have a ton of size, a little bit, but Shea's size is going to be an issue for Hope because they just don't have it. You're throwing out, 2 6'5" kids out there. It's going to be a battle. They have the speed that they can kind of match up with Folger going up and down the court. And Hope, maybe they want to run with South Kingstown, but I don't think there's anyone in the state, Division I, II, that's going to say, yeah, let's go run with Shea. And if you get into that high speed, let's go up and down the court with Shea, it's going to end poorly. And the Raiders, I think, I'm Division II tournament's great, but I want to see what Shea's going to do in the big tournament.
Yeah, and I think you hit it on the nail. Like, I think it's just Shad could get hot again, but if you go by the guards, now you have somebody 6'5", 6'6" down there just waiting with long arms. So it just makes everything tougher. Just seeing over the guards, and Shea has some guards that take it personal on defense. You can see those guys. They like to play tough defense, and then they run. So it's like they get a steal, they get a rebound, and then they're gone. So it's like whether Shan gets out or not, he has to run back on defense constantly. It's like it just goes into the game. So I think. I think it's going to be a very tough matchup, but it's going to be a fun matchup to watch.
Yeah, definitely. Is Shea the longest team in the state? They're huge.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've seen Hendrick, and I've seen LaSalle. Classical's got some size, but they don't have. I mean, Shea's got 3 6'6" kids, maybe one who's closer to 6'8", and it's like they roll out there, and okay, what do we do? Like, you can't do anything sometimes against size like that. It's just there's size at every position. A lot of times you'll get a team that has 1 or 2 big kids, but then there's like a 5'10" guard or something, or 5'8" guard. It's like, that's not a big deal. But their guards are all at least 6 feet tall. Yeah. It's insane how big they are.
It's crazy. Someone sent me their roster before the season started, and I just remember it was Coach Jeff at Pawtucket Hoops. Shout out to him. But it was like 6'6", 6'1", 6 foot, like point guard, 6 something. Like it was crazy. I was like, I have never seen a team like with everyone over 6 foot that especially in Rhode Island.
Yeah, and I thought I was looking ahead, but when Eric mentioned the state tournament, now I'm all of a sudden thinking about the state tournament because I left.
We got to get through this week first, Ramon. We got to get through this week first. But no, I'm with you there. That's where my brain's at right now. Like, where are they going to be seated? Who could they beat? Like, can you, again, not to get completely off track, but like classical versus Shea, I wouldn't mind watching that game just to see them go back and forth at each other. Oh,
yeah. Yeah, state tournaments around the corner. We hopefully we'll have to do something like that for this, but I'm excited for that as well too. So we'll see what happens there. Let's move on to our next game. We had Coventry versus Middletown in a very close battle. Coventry able to pull out the victory here, 61-60, holding on. I mean, Coventry is led by Logan with 22 points, and Timmy Robinson had a big night too, 31 for Middletown. I mean, Ramon, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, I was kind of sold on Coventry. I knew it was going to be a close game, and Timmy's been playing so well. I think 30 in the playoffs, so that's 30 in the playoffs, right? And then it's such a close game. But Coventry was able to pull it off. I think they have, some seniors, they got some experience. So I think they're going to ride it out as long as they can. I think they're a legit team. And unfortunately, the time's over for Middletown now. But I think Middletown had a good run this year. And I think players kind of Timmy and the rest of that crew, they did a really good job this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think we both thought that Coventry was going to win this one, and actually, when you see that Tim Robinson went off the way he did, that usually equates the whole season. That's meant the Islanders were going to win the game, and kudos to Coventry for being able to hold it off, because that's defense has been their thing, and obviously not to say they struggled, because they still held them to 60, but that's a good win for Coventry, and kind of maybe a little gut check win that they need if they're gonna go further, not just be a one-win team in the postseason. So, they didn't quite have the scoring that I thought they were going to from some of their players, but it's good to see other guys stepping up. And if you give those guys some confidence, watch out. That makes teams really scary.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, then they go into their next matchup, which is, we're going to talk about it right now, is Rogers was able to beat Lincoln 75-48. Rogers had 4 guys in double figures, with Darian Piker led them all with 22. Isaiah King had 12, Elijah Neal had 12, and Donovan Wright with 10 for Rogers. And then Wayne McNamara for Lincoln had 16 points. Ramon, what are your thoughts on Rogers?
Yeah, Rogers is just on a high, man. I'm telling you, they're one of the hottest teams in the state. They've just been winning a lot and winning the games they're supposed to win, in some games that people didn't expect them to win, and just in time for the playoffs. And I think they're going to be a tough out for anyone. I expected them to beat Lincoln. I don't want to say easily, but I expect them to take care of business. They did, like they're supposed to. I think that's just kind of a little reaffirmation for them to say, like, we're here to win a lot more than just this game. So.
Yeah, I'd just like to point out that Lincoln is my 2023 Division II champion pick right now. I've said that on Thursday night. I'm sticking with it. It's a good young basketball team. They're going to be there. Their sophomores are incredible. It's a good season for Lincoln to make the playoffs. They got a taste of it. They're going to be better next year. Rogers is playing as good as anyone in Division II. I think this is like 8 or 9 wins in a row now for them. They've got confidence. They're rolling. We're seeing Piker now score a lot. Isaiah King's been doing most of it this season. They've got a lot of guys who can put up numbers, and that's going to make them a tough matchup, especially for a team like Coventry that I don't think quite has their speed and quite has that up and down. But if the Ogres can find a way to slow this game down, maybe it's going to be something. But I have a tough time looking at Rogers and saying right now, okay, can anyone beat them other than, maybe some of the big guys like Shea and Tolman?
We'll see what happens. And they go in the next matchup. Well, they'll play Coventry on Wednesday, the 23rd at 6 p.m. I mean, what are you guys' thoughts on that upcoming matchup between those two teams?
Yeah, I think like we were saying, I think it's gonna be tough unless Coventry can pull out some tricks out the hat or something. It's gonna be tough for them to stop Rogers. Like I said, I think Rogers is just playing so good that anything other than a Pawtucket school that's still in the tournament, it's gonna be tough for them to battle against.
Here's Rogers' biggest mistake of this game is they scheduled it at 6 o'clock. And if you're smart, you schedule it at 7, because the drive from Coventry to Newport is like at least 2.5 hours. It's long. That's as far away in Rhode Island as you're going to get. So you got to play mind games, I think, at some point in these postseason. Be like, all right, we're going to make these guys, they're going to come in late and they're going to get home late, and we're going to make them know. But no, they did the right thing, and they're playing the game at 6. But I'm just saying, this is how my head works. Like, maybe make them like, all right, guys, come, let's make this drive in the middle of the night for you. How you like that? But I love Rogers in this game. I said it already. They're so good right now. And I think I don't want to. Yeah, I'm picking them. I think they're going to win this game.
Don't let Eric be, like your coach at one of your teams. He'll pull the old Red Auerbach trick and turn up the heat in the locker room before a team shows up or anything like that.
You should have seen me in rec basketball. I got all the tricks.
I love it. Let's go to our final matchup here. in Division 2, which is Burrillville versus St. Ray's. Burrillville is able to win this game by 13 points, 47-34. Michael Hedquist with 12 points for Burrillville, and for St. Ray's, Jaden Cardoso with 13 points. I mean, Eric, what are your thoughts on this Burrillville game?
And I kind of talked about this on Thursday. This was the result I saw coming. St. Rayfields was playing without Ethan McCann-Carter. They were without Moses Muse, who are two huge pieces for that team. Muse is the biggest, strongest center in Division 2. McCann-Carter is just one of the best athletes there are in Rhode Island, any sport. And without those guys, this was a completely different team. They didn't have the firepower. And, Burrillville's not going to light you up, running up and down the court, but they play that smart, slow, steady basketball. You need as many weapons as you can get. St. Rayfield didn't have it. And yeah, I'm not surprised. The Broncos, again, they're a team that knows winning. They've won in other sports. They've won in past years. Everyone's going to think, oh, Burrillville's going to lose. And the next thing you know, they're in the D2 finals again. So it's a good win for the Broncos. And they're not trying to win pretty. They're going to grind you out, and they're going to win games like this, and they don't care.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. It's like we've seen this before. We've seen Burrillville come in, maybe not with not as much hype, and they do what they do, right? And I think, as Eric sees a lot into what's going on around. When he told me about the guys that were potentially not going to be there, I was like, yeah, then it makes more sense. I was already going to pick Burrillville, but it makes that much more sense if they're missing some pieces. And yeah, so tough loss for St. Ray's. I think they have a good outlook going forward, but I think, Burrillville handle business.
Yeah, and then their next matchup is they play the number 1 seed Tolman, and that would be on Tuesday at 7 p.m. I mean, thoughts on this matchup? I mean, seems like a very good defensive team versus a pretty powerful team in Tolman.
So one of the things that I talked about in my show, or on the show on Thursday, was that I thought this was going to be an interesting matchup because playing at Tolman High School's gym, it's a smaller gym, and that might favor a slowed down team that's going to rely on defense. I come to find out they're actually playing at Jenks Middle School this game. So it's still not a full size court, but it's a little bit bigger, which is actually going to be huge for Tolman because it's going to open the court up just a little bit more. They need as much space as they can. You give that Tolman team space, they're going to work a lot better. A team like Burrillville is content to play in a tight, tiny gym because they can control pace, slow the game down, work the clock, and just go. But now you give them a little bit more room to run. It's going to make things a lot harder for the Broncos. And the Tigers are they're ready. They've got the pieces in place. They've got shooters. They got guys who can get to the rack. They've got defense. They've got rebounding. I feel like you want to say they're a lock, but we've seen locks lose to Burrillville in the playoffs before. So it's going to be an interesting game, even though a lot of people are going to be hyping up Tolman on this one, including myself.
Yeah, Tolman is a very well-rounded team. And I think, honestly, I get what you're saying with the gym size. I think either way, Tolman has an advantage. If it's a very small gym, they implement that trap that they do when it's so hard to fight against in such a small gym. But at the same time, you need the space to run to do something with that trap. But yeah, I think unless this will be a real upset, right? Unless something significant happen, I think I can see Tolman just kind of taking care of business.
Yeah, well, it should be very interesting. The next round of Division 2 starts on Tuesday. And then let's get into the last division review, Division 1. Let's get into the first thing. Let's get into one of the upsets. Number 12 Cumberland 48 versus Wesley 40. Cumberland's led by Khalil Fafano, who had 17 points, and Jack Proctor with 16 points. Wesley is led by Jesse Samo with 17, and Dante Wilkes with 16. Eric, what are your thoughts on this one? I know you guys, I think one of you predicted this one, right?
That was me. And again, it had nothing. And I hate kind of saying yeah, I picked them because I feel bad because it's not, I wasn't picking against Wesley. I think Wesley was a good basketball team. They had an unbelievable season that dummies like me never saw coming. They should be nothing but proud of that. But Cumberland is a team that hasn't really had a chance to come together yet. They were missing players at the start of the year. The school got hammered by COVID like just about everywhere else. And they didn't start becoming Cumberland basketball until these last couple of weeks of the season. Fafana is one of the better guards in the state. He can play, he can score big. And it's now that they're playing, now that Gary Rhody has an unbelievable resume in the postseason. Everyone remembers a few years back when Cumberland came out of nowhere, knocked off Hendricken in the first round in the state tournament. That was insane. And it's Cumberland basketball. They just figure it out. And it was a game that, I don't know, it just felt right for me. It's a pick. I went with it. If I would have lost, I would have eaten it. But it's a great win for the Clippers, and who now, maybe they're starting to play their best basketball, and we're going to see what kind of team they really are.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think Wesley is very talented, very well-rounded. I thought they were going to be able to have, just the firepower from different places coming to be able to take over this, to be able to come through with a win in this game. But yeah, I think you nailed it. I think you mentioned Cumberland was going to have a chance if Khalil could play his game, and yeah, it's true. Cumberland hasn't really been able to gel to now. Like, they just had a lot of players out for different reasons. Kids that transferred in that have to, even though, have to wait to join the team so later. And it's like, they finally kind of put it together, hey, maybe do they have another upset ahead? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, then we'll see what happens in their next matchup, where we're going to get into is Smithfield. Smithfield was able to get the victory over Woonsocket, 43-35. A close one. Smithfield is led by Riley Bennett with 17 points and Riley Grand with 15 points. And Woonsocket is led by Justin Hill with, I think, 15 points. Eric, what are your thoughts on this one?
I think if you could have just written down 43-35 and then asked me or Ramon, hey, which team won the game by this score? Which game was it? We would have been like, Smithfield. That's a Smithfield score. This is Smithfield basketball. We're going to slow the game down to a halt. We're going to work every second the shot clock. We're going to make you work on offense. And you're going to play our way of basketball. Nobody does it better than Smithfield. And that's what they did. They beat a team that may have a little bit more talent, but Smithfield did what Smithfield does. Win a low scoring game. They don't care because they're into the next round. And that's what the Sentinels do.
Yeah, I went to the Bryant game on Saturday, and I went into the other gym just to kind of remember where I used to play my intramural sports and whatnot. And I run into Riley Bennett and Mike Tartaglia, and they're just getting shots up. And I'm like, oh, Cumberland won. How do you feel about facing Cumberland? So Wesley, like, we really don't care. We're gonna play our game wherever it is. They're like, either way, it would have been fine. We're just gonna play our game and we'll see how it goes. I'm just like, I guess that's the attitude I have. So yeah, I think I saw this coming. Low scoring game, Smithfield winning. So no surprise here.
Yeah, and then their next matchup, as you just touched upon, Ramon, is Cumberland, Smithfield versus Cumberland. That will be on Tuesday, the 22nd at 6 p.m. Any thoughts on that as well, Eric?
I mean, it's what, if first to 20 is going to win this game. There's not going to be a ton of points. It's really going to come down to how does Smithfield want to defend Fofana. They're going to do everything they can to take him out of the game, and then kind of make Cumberland win with their other guys. I know Proctor's had a pretty good season for them, so maybe he can get it done underneath. But Smithfield has size. Smithfield seems to be a bad matchup for every single team in Rhode Island. And it's a rare thing to see. They've got every single piece. They've got great coaching. They've got talent. They've got shooting. They've got size. They've got kids who don't care about their own stats. They just want to go out and get wins. And they know every single, again, dummies like me are like, oh, they can't win that game. And then they win. And I just don't know how anyone can pick against Smithfield, especially this early. And I don't know how you can expect them not to win games, because it's proven they know how to do it. It's just a matter of, are they going to get it done? Are they going to frustrate the other team? And I like them moving on in this game. I know it's fun to pick the Clippers at one game, but this will be a fun game. This will be a really, really good quarterfinal matchup.
Any thoughts on it, Ramon, as well, too?
I agree. That's a good matchup to see. I think another thing I mentioned to the guys, I was like, oh yeah, they have a really good guard. And Khalil, they're like, yeah, we have really good defenders as well. I'm just like, oh, cool. So it's gonna be a good matchup.
Should be an interesting one. All right, and then now let's get into our second upset that happened as well too. We had Central versus East Providence. Central able to pull out the victory here by 67-60. Jaden had himself a game. He had 35 points in this one, and over a victory over his fellow RI elite teammate Trey Resendes, who had 15, and then Xavier Hazard also had 15. So Ramon, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so this was one when I was picking up, I wanted to pick Central, but I just couldn't pick against East Providence, and maybe could have gone with my gut feeling. But I knew it was going to be a really good game. A lot of good players, talented offensive players. It was going to be a good game. And sure enough, as soon as I tuned in, I was like, wow, Central. Jaden is just everywhere. Like, for the smallest guy on the court, he's just everywhere. Like, from the rebounds to, getting his hands in there for little strips, and just, he's everywhere all over the court. And he does it with such like he's not forcing, So it's like, I'm surprised he was going to have 35 points. He takes a lot of shots, but he makes a lot of shots, takes tough shots, makes tough shots. I was just surprised EP couldn't control the tempo a little more, some of their size. So I haven't even looked at the points for the state tournament, which I'm going to start looking at, but hopefully EP's still in. Not sure if they're guaranteed, because I definitely want to see them play a little more.
And I probably should have picked East Providence, considering I'm an East Providence graduate, but I picked the Knights in this, and me and Ramon had talked about it, the last two times he was on the show. They're such a good team that played. They were in the toughest division in the state, the toughest subdivision, and they took loss. There were a lot of losses that in games they could have won, and this was they had just beaten this East Providence team by 30. And it's really hard to have a turnaround. I don't care how hot they were in that game. And, and kudos to the Townies for the season they've had, because that program, they've got the new facilities. They've got excitement around that team. And that team is a year away. This was a good year, a good learning year. They're going to be one of the top 4 teams in the state, top 4, top 5 teams in the state next year. Central's just got pieces, and they've got senior experience, and that's huge. And it's kind of what you see in this game. Levent's, he's experienced. He knows what he's doing. Steven Jacquez underneath is a terrific. I believe it's Jacquez. I can't remember if I get there's another Steven on a center on another team. So sorry if I bring
you got it right.
But they have that senior experience, and that's huge for them. And Central knows, our record's not great, but we have something to prove, and they went out and proved it.
Yeah, definitely. And they go up against Bishop Hendricken, on Tuesday as well, the 22nd at 6 p.m. I mean, what are your thoughts on that one, Ramon?
So it's you never want to bet against Hendricken anytime in playoffs until they lose, right? But it's funny to see. Like, I mean, Jaden and the Central team, they're pesky. They're gonna, I don't feel like Hendricken's been playing their best basketball at all. So it's like, can they come in there and maybe make a little noise and shock the state? Could be.
I don't think there's any way Hendricken loses this game at all. But my brain starts looking ahead and like, well, Classical's playing Mount Pleasant. Can you imagine like Classical Mount Pleasant in the quarters? Then they have to play Central in the semis. Like the excitement around those two games, and that's who am I rooting for? Things like that, the stories, like to have that potential, like those matchups going forward, it would be unbelievable because the city would go nuts. Just insane. Like you would have to be like, all right, guys, we can't have this semifinal at Classical. We're gonna have to go to the dunk. Yeah. But I just don't think Hendricken, Easy Wally's too good of a player. They've got guys who know how to win. And don't forget, Hendricken plays its best basketball when it matters most, and that's now. And I love the Hawks in this game.
Awesome. I agree as well.
Yeah, we'll see what happens in that one. Then we got our next matchup. We got Narragansett versus Portsmouth, and Narragansett able to win this one in a close battle against Portsmouth, winning this game by 4. Jared for Gansett had 18 points. Mekhi Wilson had 17. Tom Calabria had 10, and Jack Downen for Portsmouth had 19. Ben Hurd with 11 points, and Calvin Lucetti had 11 as well for Portsmouth. Eric, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
I think this game went about as we expected. Just two teams that are pretty equal. Portsmouth really never had any consistency this year, but you know what? Congrats to them on the season. Moving up from D2 to D1, they were consistent. They were in every single game they played this year, so it wasn't like they were overmatched at all. Once they made the move up, it's going to be sad to see Ben Hurd go. He was a great player in his time at Portsmouth, but Narragansett has some players, and we see Peanut Shalhoub going off again. He's having good games. These kids are playing with confidence, and I know because they're in my DMs all the time about me sleeping on them. I just nonstop getting messages, and I'm like, guys, I get it. I know how good you are. The kid to look out for on this team going in for the rest of the way, we know Peanut Shalhoub's going to score. Calabrio's been big. Mekhi Wilson is a different type of athlete. He's size, speed, strength on a different level than a lot of people. He might not be a pure basketball player. He's a superstar on the football field, but he's the kind of athlete that not a lot of teams have. And it's going to be interesting to see what he does as he develops. It's only his junior year. So he's going to be crucial though, if they're going to go any farther.
Yeah. And definitely, I think this being an 8-9 matchup, I knew it was going to be a close game. I also had Narragansett kind of pulling it off. I think those Narragansett kids also in my DMs a lot. And they're just, very tough kids are just gonna, especially now in the playoffs is gonna show. I think Benny Hurd, it's tough to see him go, not winning a championship, man. But like you said, they just moved up to D1, so it's tough. And honestly, he has such an outstanding career, nothing to be not proud of. I think Narragansett is gonna be fun to watch regardless of who they're playing. They'll remind you that they played everybody close. So getting LaSalle next, I'm sure they're not afraid. So
yeah, they play LaSalle on Tuesday as well at 7:30. I mean, thoughts on that matchup as well going forward?
For LaSalle, this is a nightmare, just an absolute nightmare. This was the last team you wanted to see this round. And we talked about it on Thursday. The way these brackets went out, there just wasn't, it seemed like every team that had a bye got matched up in the same bracket with teams that were not an ideal situation for them. And this is a Narragansett team that almost beat LaSalle this year. LaSalle's won a lot of games close. And when we made our picks in this bracket, I have LaSalle going on, but if Narragansett wins this game, I'm not going to be shocked. And there's part of me, I may be at this one because I know they're doing a doubleheader with the girls game as well. The LaSalle girls are playing South Kingstown, so I may end up being at that. But this is going to be a ball game, and this is going to be a fun one. Narragansett's got a lot to prove, and they are fearless, just completely fearless. So they're not going in there scared. They're not going in there nervous. They're going in there like they're the favorites. They're supposed to win. So it should be a fun one to watch.
Exactly. That's what I love about those kids from Narragansett. They're not afraid of anything. And yeah, they can get chippy, but I think LaSalle has the guards to kind of push back if they get pushed, right? So I think it's going to be a great match. I think watching, I might not be there in person, but even just watching, I just can't wait to see, how they come after Dimitri and they come after Raf, and then just seeing how they push back. So I think it's going to be a great matchup. I also got LaSalle winning, but yeah, I definitely wouldn't be shocked, and I'm not going to say, oh my God, if Narragansett pulls off the win, it's going to be an upset, but they won't be surprised.
Yeah. See what happens in the next round. It sounds like a tough matchup for LaSalle going forward. And then our final game of the Division II playoffs we have is Mount Pleasant versus Barrington. Mount Pleasant, they will get this victory, beating Barrington by 19 points, 80-61. Mount Pleasant's led by Prince Santos with 26 points, Matt Buchanan with 12, and Jorge Ventura with 12 points. And just to note, Jaden Simone had 8 points in this game, and then Matt Rafa led all scores for Barrington with 32. What are your thoughts on this one, Ramon?
So Prince Santos came out of there and was just hot from the outside. Like, he's a very good guard, fast, can move the ball, he can shoot, but I think he started off the game like 5 for 5. It was before he missed one from the 3-point line. So it was like, what? So secondly, I think Barrington came in saying, let's stop Jaden. I could see they were like chasing him around all over the court, face guarding him. Hey, the team they have the time to back that up. So Jaden only had 8 points. He had a couple. I saw him make 3, had a nice dunk. But he was able to play the decoy and his team have his back. Unfortunately for Barrington, they just couldn't get the scoring. A lot of times for Barrington, they had 61 points, but I think it was a lot of just Mount Pleasant was allowing some of those shots. But I think Barrington just couldn't get the scorers out there. Matt had 32, was making all types of tough shots, but nobody else was able to get hot, and that happened to them a lot this year.
Yeah, I think, like you said, this is what you need, though, if you want to win playoff games. They're going to take down your best guy. They're going to stop him. And honestly, like when I look at a score like this, I think, so one of my guys, I have the information from our website. Like we have this other site, and our guys put it in. I'm like, well, someone on my side made a mistake. This Santos kid can't have 20. That's impossible. And you look at it, you compare it to what we got set in. You're like, oh yeah, and that's what you need. A team needs a Prince Santos to step up to make shots when they're eliminating a player like Jaden Buchanan. Or Jaden DeSimone, Matt Buchanan was going to come in, give you a double-double and get you that. But you get these other pieces coming in. Yeah. That's how you win big games. And Barrington, Rafa wasn't there last time they played. He showed up in a big way. He was there. That's still a young team. They lost like 6 or 7 seniors last year. Yeah. And they're in there. They're in there, and they're not that far away from being a great team. And hopefully, I don't know what Rafa's plans are. I hope he sticks around and plays high school ball around as long as possible. This kid's got a bright future. But to see him get 32 in a big game, it's great to see. And, hopefully we see more of that. But this Mount Pleasant team, again, they're another team. They don't care about who they're playing or what they're playing. They play fearless basketball. And it was, we see it with this win here.
And then their next matchup is going to be a very exciting one. The Buchanan brothers are going at it against each other. It's going to be Classical versus Mount Pleasant on Tuesday, the 22nd at 6 p.m. I'm very excited for this matchup. What are your thoughts on this one, Eric?
See, now I'm mad because I was thinking about, like, I need these high schools to work together and like schedule this like the NCAA tournament. Like, guys, LaSalle and Narragansett are getting together at 7:30. Let's start this at like 5. So that way we can, because now I'm already thinking, I'm like, well, I could go to this game and then maybe I can go over catch the second half of the next one because I want to see both. And they're 5 minutes apart. They're not that far apart, but Mount Pleasant Classical, who cares what's happened in the season? Who cares what their records are? This is a different type of ball game. 2 city rivals going at it. You got the Buchanan brothers going at it. It's this is one of those where I think if Classical's either going to win this by 30 or Mount Pleasant's going to win this game with like a buzzer beater. That's how it goes. Classical's not winning close. They're either winning huge or it's going to be a Mount Pleasant win.
Interesting. Yeah, this is always a great matchup no matter what. And I remember last year we were talking about it's probably the game of the playoffs, other than that LaSalle Hendricken game. And it's just, yeah, it gets, those city matches are amazing. And at the brothers, they go at it like they're not gonna sleep in the same house that night. I'm just like, what's going on? It's always awesome to see. And this year seems shouldn't be any different. Like these kids know each other off the court, their friends off the court, but once that whistle, once that tip off goes off, it's like they don't know each other. It really looks like they're gonna go and fight, and it's a great match at the end of the game to give each other hugs and whatnot. But definitely looking forward to that game. That's probably one of the best matchups I'm looking forward to.
They need to play this game at the Dunk. Play it at the Dunk. Play it at PC in there in the gym, somewhere big where more people can go, because there ain't enough room in Classical High School to fit all the people who are going to want to go to this game.
It's true.
Yeah, I'm
It
very
sucks.
excited.
It sucks. It sucks. Those classical tickets are like impossible to get. Like it's just like,
well, and Mount Pleasant was having issue. Mount Pleasant, and kudos to Mount Pleasant on this. I tweeted out, I got a response from a Barrington parent about, oh, they're limiting the amount of tickets. I mean, they weren't limiting them during COVID. It's like, guys, no, they're limiting the amount of tickets for playoff game. So that way the parents from the other team have a chance to go. Otherwise, that gym's going to be filled with Mount Pleasant fans before the game. And it's such a small gym. And this is the same thing. Like, you have to give families on both sides a chance to get in there. And then after that, what is it? What are they selling them on? Like selling them secondary market, probably for $50 a seat.
Yeah, who knows? It's crazy. People are like reaching out to me like, hey, can you get me some class? I'm like, what kind of pool you think I got? Mind you, I can but no. I'm doing that for you.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to send Bob Palazzo an email tonight and be like, Bobby, I'm gonna be there. You're gonna have to get me. I need a seat where I can sit and actually do my job, because I think I'm gonna have to be there for this one.
I love it. And it just feels so crowded in that gym no matter what. Like everyone's on top of each other. I love it.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. Like we mentioned, it was the game of the year last year. And that's crazy that the tickets, it's tough to get tickets. You might have to go check them out on StubHub or one of those secondary markets or something to find them, because it's very exciting for everyone to see this happen. But that's the end of our playoff review. Some great matchups in the next round. I'm very excited. I can't thank you both enough for being on the show. This is a lot of fun. It was great talking high school hoops with both of you. Some of the greatest, basketball guys that we know in Rhode Island and know all their stuff. So I can't thank you guys both enough for being on this show. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you for having us, man. It's always a good time. And this is such a exciting time in Rhode Island. Just all these, and now, obviously we're having the state tournament again. So it's just like, you're so excited for this. Oh, wait, there's another one. So like, can't wait.
Yeah, the only sad part for me in these next 2 weeks is I know I have Division Ones. We have a family wedding away, and I'm going to be missing like a week of high school basketball in the middle of playoffs. So I'm trying to think, like, is my wife going to be mad if we're away and I'm like sitting on a beach with a computer in my lap watching high school hoops? I have to figure out if I can do that yet. But this is a great time of year, and even if it's these games, like, I'm sad that how fast this week's going to go by, because it's going to be so much fun. And we talked a lot about the boys, but don't forget that girls tournament, once they start getting deeper, that girls tournament's going to be a lot of fun to watch. There's some very good talent. Check out Division 2. That East Providence girls team, very, very good. And they're on a mission to win that D2 title. So
I've been wondering this whole year, like, how does that East Providence team compare to some of the top D1 teams? But I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, just to hit that quick, you see the D1. I think they would be one of those top 6-7 teams this is a year, and I think we're going to see a little bit more upsets with the way the talent is in Division 2, where I think we may get 2 teams into the state Final Four for the girls. That Juanita team is. Genesis McNeil was on the championship team last year for St. Ray's, and I don't know if there's an athlete in the state like her in girls basketball. She's long. She's fast. She's quick. She's starting to develop her scoring. She's getting more confidence. They're going to have, they're just a tough team to beat. Depth is an issue with them where it isn't in some of those D1 schools, but the girls tournament's going to be fun. And Tolman Shea, if I don't talk about them, they get mad at me in my DMs. Armani Rivera is getting about 25-30 a night for them in D3. It's Division 3 basketball, but she goes and she's showing why she's such a good player. And it looks like, this could be a lot of titles for Pawtucket in their future these next couple of weeks. So it's going to be fun, though. It just has to slow down. It has to start going a little bit slower so we can enjoy it a little more.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, it's going to be great. And awesome. Thank you so much. Eric, when does the next Ruby Tuesday come out? You can give that a shout out as well, too.
I don't know. And yeah, I was trying to do it every Tuesday, but it's a little tough for me during basketball, especially during playoffs, because like I said, like a 7:30 game, I don't want to be up till 1 a.m. every night. I'm trying to balance work at the Providence Journal, doing, my social media stuff and having a family. So I'm not sure. We're gonna have a show. I put it out on social as quick as I can once I know what we're doing. But maybe it might be a Ruby Tuesday on a Friday as long as there's no playoffs, because we can kind of just jump into something and talk about the finals that'll be coming up that weekend. We'll see how it goes. I wing it. I need a social media manager. I got to figure out how to do this stuff.
Well, thank you both so much for being on the show. This is awesome. Great talking high school hoops from both of you, as always. And I really enjoyed my time speaking to both of you. So thank you guys again. And I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right. Thanks.
No problem.